Hey everyone, my name is Konrad, and today I'm going to speak to you about why I believe that many young athletes should consider taking creatine if they want to take that next step in their profession. Now, many athletes who aim to better themselves, they look to just their training, whether it's weight training or running or sport-specific drills or workouts they do, and they look to that as the only means that they have to get better in what they want to do. And many of them neglect the nutrition side that comes to being an athlete and bettering yourself. And while everyone, eats food and everybody has that part of nutrition, what I believe separates the good from the great is that many great athletes understand that supplements are also a big part of nutrition. Now, my goal today is for you to leave my speech with an understanding of one of the most researched and used supplements in all of athletics, and that is creatine. Now, today I want to teach you about what creatine does, where it comes from, and I want to give you two examples of athletes who have testified of how creatine has helped them in their lives. Now, I have done extensive research on creatine, and I have also taken it for 2 to 3 years, so I feel as if I am well credentiated to speak to you on this topic. Now, let's start at the beginning with where creatine comes from. So according to Mayo Clinic and staff, creatine is a natural compound that is made of 3 amino acids that our body produces naturally. And with a regular human's diet, our bodies can produce around 1 to 2 grams of creatine a day. And the majority of creatine is stored in our muscles, and there's a little bit of it that gets stored into our brains. Now, one issue with this, especially as athletes, is even though we can naturally produce these 1 to 2 grams of creatine, that's nowhere near enough to even see results of the positive side effects that you can get as an athlete. And that is where we get creatine supplementation that comes into picture. And according to registered nurse Brandy Jones at her publisher Verywell Health, creatine monohydrate is the most researched and supported supplement out of every single available one on the market for young athletes. For most athletes, as I said earlier, the 1 to 2 grams a day we get is not enough. So many companies have started producing marketable creatine monohydrate in forms of powders or gummies where you can receive a recommended dosage of 5 grams a day to add onto your natural diet to really give you those extra side effects that you can get. And now I'm about to talk about some of those side effects that we get from creatine. So let's get into what it does for our bodies. So increased levels of creatine cause our bodies to increase our production levels of ATP. ATP is what powers basically everything in our body and gives us these bursts of energy in workouts. If you have increased levels of ATP, you can activate better and you can have better bursts of energy when you're working out and doing high intensity things. And according to market intelligence specialist Samuel Okafor and his publisher World Metrics, they got some information from some studies about creatine and what it does, and they verified that subjects who had low baseline creatine levels showed a 15 to 20% increase in their overall strength after doing nothing but adding creatine to their diet. And additionally, creatine supplementation was shown to also increase 30-second all-out sprint performance in elite athletes by 5 to 12%. Now, if that last bit alone doesn't mean something to you, any athlete in a high school, collegiate, or professional level knows that if you're going to do one small thing and it increase your performance by 5 to 12%, that's a large margin that many dudes can only do naturally in a whole year's worth of work. And that's alone from just adding one thing to your diet. Now, just performance output is not the only thing that creatine can do for you, as according to a distinguished professor in exercise physiology, Creter, and his colleagues, and their publisher, the International Society of Sports Nutrition, creatine is not only used for building muscle strength and performance, but it can also play a role in preventing and or reducing the severity of injury, enhancing rehabilitation from injuries, and helping athletes tolerate heavy training loads. Now, as I said earlier, not only can creatine help you increase your performance output on the field, but for many athletes in sports that deal with injuries, creatine can help you get back from those injuries that can really hurt you in a career, and it can really just get you back fast, And what I just stated are the main reasons why I personally believe that any athlete that wants to play at a level above the rest and take it a step further should really consider supplementing creatine into their diet. But I don't want you to just take it from me. I want you to also take it from these two athletes, one collegiate and one professional, that have said many wonders about what creatine has done for them. Now, according to senior health, nutrition, and fitness reporter Landsberg with Business Insider, she had a story from CrossFit champion Brooke Wells, who came back from an elbow injury, and she started implementing creatine into her diet to get back into her workouts. And what she stated was that she was able to have better recovery, and she was able to go a lot more intense in her workouts after adding creatine. And while her results were not entirely completely linked to just creatine, the results she had aligned with some of the results of studies with creatine, showing that there was a relation and that creatine really does do this for people. And also, I have a testimony from Caleb Garland, who's a player here at Angelo State, who has been on creatine for about 2 to 3 years, and his exact words were that creatine has helped my muscle endurance during lifts, and it allows me to lift heavier weights for more reps without having as much fatigue. Now, when we look at the big picture of creatine, we see that it is something that our bodies can naturally produce that we might not get enough of, but when properly supplemented, we can really see a lot of major effects. And even though these effects may not be as strong as some things like steroids, for being a natural thing that we can use legally and that our bodies produce on their own, I think that creatine is just as good as steroids with how crazy it can be for performance and muscle recovery. And now that I've completed my speech, to any athletes, parents of athletes, or anybody on the fence of taking creatine, I hope that I've convinced you today on why you should take creatine, as it has done wonders for me, and I really believe that it can do wonders for you in your life. Thank you.